So in our last class we discussed a concept called GCM concept we discussed. Of course, just we discussed the concept we discussed. Still we had to develop an example. We had to develop a perfect application. We had to develop for demonstrating the GCM concept. Okay, we'll discuss that concept. I'm doing some back end work for that. I'm creating a server. I'm creating for that. Okay, once that is done, and we'll discuss. So that program will discuss once again how to work with the GCM. Okay, so today's class will discuss the graphics programming part. We'll discuss in the today's session. Just give me a second. So today's session will discuss what graphics programming concept. We'll discuss in the today's session. Okay. So the last class we discussed GCM. Today's class will discuss what. So graphics programming will discuss. Meaning, in this graphics programming, we'll discuss how to display graphics and animations. We'll discuss. Okay. So mainly, if you want to display graphics in Android, following are the graphic components. Following are what? Following are the graphic components. Okay, so if you want to display any graphics, if you want to display in Android, mainly there is a class called SurfaceView is a class. If you want to display any graphics, if you want to display in Android, mainly we are having a class called what? SurfaceView is a class name. Okay, you know, we can create this surface view. You can create in two ways. You can create, this is surface view is one UI component. You can create the surface view as a UI component. You can create the surface view as a UI component, or you can create the surface view as a UI component. You can create this surface view. Uh, create a class. Create class by extending surface view. These are the two options we are having. One is create a UI component and create class by extending what? Create class by extending surface view component. Create class by extending surface view component. Create UI component, create a class by extending the surface view component. These are the two ways for creating the surface view. Which one we have to take, either UI component or by extending a surface view class is. We'll discuss that one. If you want to occupy the entire screen, you want to display some animations, if you want to display a graphics, if you want to display the entire screen, then create a class by extending the surface view class. If you want to display only some part of the screen, you want to display some animation, some graphics only, not the entire screen. So 30% of the screen or 40% of the screen, some part of the screen you want to display some graphics, then we use a UI component called surface view component we use. Okay, but directly we cannot perform any operations on surface view. Directly we cannot perform any operations on surface view. We cannot perform any operations. To manage the surface view, we require an object for surface holder. I'll repeat once again. Directly, we cannot perform any operations on surface view component. Directly, we cannot perform any operations on surface view. To manage the surface view, we have to create an object for surface holder class. We have to create an object. Directly, we cannot perform any operations on surface view. Okay, so we had to create an object for what? Surface holder class. We had to create an object. Okay, and the last component is nothing but canvas. Last component is what? Canvas. So these are the three main graphic components. Surface view, surface holder, and canvas. Okay, let's see. Let's see the first one, surface view. Okay, so basically surface view is used to interact with the device hardware. Surface view is a surface will interact with the device hardware. Surface view will interact with the device hardware directly for displaying the graphics. For displaying what? Graphics. Okay. So there are, I told you, right, there are two ways out there. One is you can create a surface view component. You can create the XML file. You can create a surface view component. You can create in the XML file, and you can give the ID for that surface view component. Okay. You can give the ID. You can give for the surface view component, and you can get the surface view component into Java code. Okay. It's not only for displaying the graphics. If you want to develop a online buffer, online video streaming applications like YouTube kind of application, if you want to create YouTube or MX Player or Prisma kind of app. Okay, next, online video calling applications like Skype, TeamViewer. So internally all these applications are using a UI component called SurfaceView. Best example, even our GoToMeeting. GoToMeeting mobile application is also there. You can log in through mobile application. So how you'll get the video preview? For displaying that video preview also, internally they are using a UI component called SurfaceView component they're using. If you want to create your custom cameras, if you want to present the video previews, if you want to develop a video streaming kind of applications, so we use the SurfaceView component we use. Okay, either you can create a SurfaceView UI component you can create, or create a class by extending the SurfaceView class. Or for example, you want to create a class, you can create, for example, my view extends surface. This is another approach for creating the surface view. Create a UI component or create a class with subtype of surface view. Okay. Next, let's see now in our current example, we'll see the second approach. We'll see creating a class by extending the surface view class. Okay. Directly we cannot perform any operations on surface view. Directly we cannot perform any operations on surface view component. Directly we cannot perform any operations on surface view. Directly we cannot perform any operations on surface view. To manage the surface view, we had to create an object for surface holder class. We had to create an object. Directly we cannot perform any operations on the surface view. To manage surface view, we had to create an object for what? Surface holder class. We had to create an object. So if you want to get the surface holder object, if you want to get the object for surface holder, if you want to get the object surface holder is equals to, there is a method called get holder is a method. Get holder is a method to get the object for surface holder. Okay. The last one is nothing but canvas. Last one is what? Canvas. So to draw any object on the screen, we had to create an object for. If you want, you can specify here what exactly mean by object. Object means it may be a text. Okay. It may be a text, it may be an image, it may be any shape like triangle, rectangle, different shapes, or it may be any video preview. Okay. So if you want to draw any object on the screen, we had to create an object for surface. We had to create an object for canvas. We had to create an object for what? Canvas class. We had to create an object. So just create the object for canvas. Canvas C is equals to, when your surface holder object, by using the surface holder object, there is a method called lock canvas is a method. SurfaceHolder object dot lock canvas is a method to get the object for canvas. SurfaceHolder dot lock canvas is a method to get the object for canvas. Then after that, whatever the logic you want to perform, let's write the logic to place the components on. Write the logic to place objects on surface. So first we had to get the canvas object you had to get, and so what are the objects you want to draw, either image or text, or what are the objects you want to draw. Let's draw the objects on the surface view, and finally, once if your drawing operation is completed, we had to remove that canvas. We had to remove the surface holder object dot unlock canvas and post of unlock canvas and post and specify the canvas object. SurfaceHolder.lock canvas, write the logic, what are the UI components you want to place, and SurfaceHolder.unlock canvas and post of specify the canvas object. Okay, so basically these are the components. By using these three components, we can display some graphics we can display in Android. Okay, so now we'll create a simple application we'll create for demonstrating these graphics. Okay, let's create a project. Let's start a new Android Studio project. Specify the project name. I'm creating a project called graphics test is a project name. I'm creating a project called what? Graphics test is a project I'm creating. Next, take an empty activity. Next, okay. So we don't require this XML user interface creation now. Okay, you can close this XML file. You can close. Only everything will create through programmatically. We'll create everything. Okay. So here, I want to create my own user interface. I want to create by using a SurfaceView component. Let's create a class here. Let's create a class, new Java class. For example, my view. Let's create a class with subtype of extends surface user component. Create a class with subtype of surface view component. Create a class with subtype of what? Surface view. Okay. And see here, it is showing some error. It is showing error is nothing but if you are extending a surface view, if you are extending a surface view component, if you are extending, we had to create a constructor. We had to create in the surface view component. Let's create a constructor in the surface view component. Okay, so once if you extend a surface view component, it will ask you to create a surface view. It will ask you to create a constructor. Okay, we create a constructor. We created. Okay, context means nothing but your activity object. Your activity object will get as the input parameter for this constructor. Okay, so now here in this constructor, we create a surface view component we created. We created a surface view component we created. If you want directly, you can test now. Like from your activity class set content view method, we specified the XML file we specified, right? Now in place of this XML file, you can define your own. You can define your own class. You can define like for example my view. Now we create our own surface view component we created, that is my view. And in this surface view class, we created a constructor we created, which is taking the activity object. Context or activity both are what? Same. Which is taking the activity object. So from your activity class, what you had to do is you had to pass this. You had to pass. When you had to specify this activity object, you had to send. We had to send this current class activity object. We had to send as an input parameter to my. Okay. Let's run the application now. Let's run the application. Let's run the app in Samsung device. So it's nothing we created on surface view we created. Just we are setting that surface view component we are setting from our activity we are setting that surface view component. So app is installed. App is installed and we got the application. This is what we created our own view we created. Okay, if you see here it's a this is a surface view component. We created this view we created programmatically we created this view. And even if you want to remove this graphics test, this title is there, right? This title is there, right? It's called as an action bar. Even if you want to remove this title also, because if you see a lot of gaming kind of applications, because internally gaming applications are also using surface view only. If you are good with this surface view component, surface holder and canvas, you can build your own games. You can build. Basically I started my career in that way only. I started my career. I started as a game program. I started, I mean, initially I worked as a game developer. I learned the surface view, surface holder and canvas object, and I built some small games. I built in Android, and one company is offered here in Hyderabad as a game developer by seeing that games. Okay, so meaning if you are good with these graphic components, you can build your own games. You can build. Okay, so my requirement is even I don't want to display this graphics test also. I don't want to display this header bar. This header is there, right? Action bar. I don't want to display this action bar also. I don't want to display here. So here you can specify before this set content view method, just we had to add just we had to call a method we had to call, that is request window feature is a method. Request window feature. Before setting the set content view only, we had to write this statement. Request window feature. So window dot feature underscore no title. Window dot feature underscore what? No title. So if we specify this one, if we specify the feature underscore no title. So feature underscore no title. Even to remove that header bar also, to remove that title it is displaying, right? Chronos. Still it's not removed. Request window feature. Basically, this is only the method. Maybe they removed in the latest versions, I guess. Get window dot. Just we'll try once. I'm trying to remove this header, but also I'm trying to remove this graphic test. Is there, right? Still there. Okay. So maybe they removed that. Maybe they replaced the method name, I guess. So we'll see that one. Our focus is on graphics programming now. So now here we create a surface view component we created, and the second statement I told you, right? Directly we cannot perform any operations on surface view. Directly we cannot perform any operations on surface view. To manage the surface view, we had to create an object for surface holder class. We had to create an object. Directly we cannot perform any operations on surface view. We had to create an object for what? Surface holder class. We had to create an object. So in your surface view class, let's create the object for surface holder. Let's create the object for what? Surface holder class will create an object. Okay. Let's initialize the surface holder object. Surface holder is equals to, there is a method called get holder is a method. Directly we are inside the surface view class. Just call the get holder method. If you are not in the surface view class, just specify the object of surface view component and call the get holder method. Okay. Specifying surface view dot get holder, you'll get the object for surface holder class. You'll get the object. Okay. Next. This surface view is having three events. For example, surface view is having how many events? Three events. One is surface created. Surface view is having three events. One is the surface created is one event. Surface created, surface changed, and surface destroyed. Surface created, surface changed, and surface destroyed. Surface view is having three events. It is having surface created, surface changed, and surface destroyed. To manage surface view, to get these events, means surface created, changed, and destroyed. To get these events, we had to configure the following listener. That is your surface holder object dot there is a method called add callback is a method. New surface holder object dot add callback is a method. The input parameter for this one is nothing but object of your surface holder class, object of surface holder dot callback, object of surface holder dot callback. Basically, it contains the three methods. Basically, it contains what? The three methods. The surface holder object dot add callback. Specify the object of surface holder dot callback. It contains three methods. Let's add this listener to your surface holder. After creating the surface holder object, surface is having the three events. To get the three events, we had to configure this listener. We had to configure surface holder dot add callback is a method. In this method, we have to specify the object of, in this we have to specify the object of SurfaceHolder dot callback. So here contains the abstract methods. That's what is showing implement the methods. Let's select the implement methods. And how many methods are available? There are three methods: surface created, surface change, and surface destroyed. There are three methods inside this surface holder: created, changed, and destroyed. Okay. Whenever the surface is created, I mean whenever the screen is created, it's going to call this surface created method is going to call. Okay. So when you change the orientation, if you turn the orientation to portrait or left portrait to landscape or landscape to portrait, at that time it's going to call the surface change method. Whenever the screen is destroyed, it's going to call this on surface created method is going to call. Okay. So whenever the surface is created, it's going to call the on surface created method. Okay. So now once the surface is created, if you want to draw any objects on the surface, if you want to draw any objects, if you want to draw on the surface, we had to create the object for canvas object. We had to create. We had to create the object for what? Canvas. How you'll get the canvas object? The surface holder object dot lock canvas is a method. Canvas C is equals to the surface holder object dot lock canvas is a method to get the object for what? Canvas class object you'll get. You get the object for canvas class. So next specify here the surface. Next, if you want to draw, what are the operations you want to perform? You can write the operations here. Just I'm creating a separate method. I'm creating called onDraw is a method or myDraw is a method. You can define any method name you can specify. I'm specifying the method name as myDraw is a method name, and I'm giving this canvas object as an input. What is the method name I specified? MyDraw is a method name, and I'm passing this canvas object as an input parameter I had to pass. So this myDraw method is not available. We'll create that method. We'll create that myDraw method. Will create that method programmatically. Okay. And the last thing is nothing but the surface holder object dot. There is a method called unlock canvas and post of specify the canvas object. Surface holder object dot unlock canvas and post is a method. Unlock canvas and post is a method. Specify the object of canvas. Okay. So once your drawing operations are completed on the screen, so we had to unlock that canvas object. We had to unlock. Okay. So now this myDraw method. This myDraw method is not available. Now we had to create this method. We had to create myDraw method. Okay. Let's create this method. So outside this constructor, let's create a method public void myDraw is a method which is taking the input object as a canvas. What is the input parameter for that? What is the input parameter for this? Because here we are sending the canvas object, we are sending as the input parameter. So we are creating one constructor we are creating which is taking the canvas object as a input. So we are creating a constructor we are creating which is taking the canvas object as a input. Okay. So now here in this in this method, in this myDraw method, let's write the logic. What are the logic you wants to perform in this myDraw method? Okay. So just 1 minute, showing some error. I don't know why, where it's showing the error. Where is the error exactly? It's not showing the error there. Here it's showing the error. Okay. So we had to create a separate method. After the constructor, we had to create this method. We had to create. Now we are creating this method inside the constructor. We are creating the method, but we had to create the method outside this constructor. outside this my view constructor, we had to create a separate method we created. What is the method name we specified? My draw is a method name. So in this my draw method, so first if you want, you can apply some background color, or if you want to draw any objects on the screen by using this canvas object, you can draw the objects on the screen. Okay, let's first thing, I want to set some background color. I want to set for this canvas dot, there is a method called set background is a method, or canvas dot, there is a method called draw color is a method. Canvas dot, what is the method name? Draw color is a method. So whatever the color you want to draw as a background, you can specify that color. You can specify. For example, I'm specifying color dot black is a background for my screen. Color dot, what do you specify? Black is a background. I specify. Okay, first we'll see how to draw different shapes on the screen, like how to draw a circle shape, say how to draw a circle shape, how to draw a rectangle shape. There are different shapes you can draw by using this canvas object. Okay. So for example, I want to draw a circle. I want to draw. There is a method called canvas.drawCircle is a method. Canvas dot, what is the method name? Draw circle is a method. Canvas.drawCircle. So we had to specify these parameters. We had to specify like what is the X position, what is the Y position. Okay. So how much radius. The last parameter is nothing but the paint object. Canvas.drawCircle is a method. If you click the control button, you'll get some description. You'll get. This is a method draw circle which is taking the four parameters as input. One is the X position, Y position, what is the radius, and what is the paint object. Okay, these are the parameters we have to pass. So here, first thing is X position and Y position. So specify some X position and Y position. I specified 150 is the X position and 150 is the Y position. 150 is X position and 150 is what? Y position. Okay. And the third thing is nothing but radius. Okay, I specified the radius, I specified as 50, I specified the radius. The last parameter is nothing but the paint object. Last parameter is what? It's a paint object. Meaning paint means nothing but, okay boss, you want to draw a circle, you want to draw. What is the circle color? You want to draw only a circle with only the stroke effect, meaning only line you want to get, or you want to draw a solid circle you want to draw with a filled effect. So, you know that all the parameters you have to specify in the paint object, you have to specify all the properties. So let's create an object for paint class. Paint is equals to new paint. Paint object dot, there is a method called set color is a method. Color dot, you know what is the circle color you can specify here. I want to draw with red color, I want to draw. Okay. And what is the style? Paint dot set style. Paint dot style and style dot fill we specified. I want to draw a circle with the fill effect I want to draw. Okay. So canvas dot draw circle, and last parameter you can specify the paint object you can specify. Last parameter you can specify what? The paint object you can specify. Okay, let's run the code and see. Okay, so you got the output we got. So we drawn a circle we drawn on the screen. We drawn what? A circle we drawn on the screen. Okay, so like this you can draw different different shapes you can draw. Like for example, canvas dot draw rect is a method. Canvas dot draw rect. So we had to specify four parameters. We had to specify a total six parameters. We had to specify, not six, five. Okay. So if you want to draw a circle, if you want to draw, we have to specify these parameters. What is the left to top and right bottom? Left to top, right bottom, and the position. Like for example, you want to draw a rectangle, you want to draw. If you want to draw a rectangle, just you have to specify what is the left to top. Left, top, and right bottom. Just if you specify these 2 points, if you specify left to top and right bottom, if you specify these two parameters, automatically it's going to draw a circle. It will draw from this position to left to top position to right bottom. It's going to draw one rectangle. And you can specify the paint properties also. You can specify like what is the color, what is the style, and all. Okay. So here there is a method called canvas object dot drawRect is a method. Canvas object dot what is the method name? DrawRect is a method. In this drawRect method, you can specify these parameters like canvas dot drawRect is a method. Specify what? Left top, right bottom, and what is the paint property. Okay. So here I'm specifying the left position as 150 only left position, but Y position we specified 150. Y position we specified 150. We already specified for the circle. 150 already specified for what? Circle we already specified. So now change this one. So Y position, let's take, I'm specifying 200. Y position from 200. We specified left to top, we specified. Next I specify the right bottom. I'm specifying 350 is a right side position and 400 is a bottom position. The last thing is nothing but paint property. Paint. I mean, in which color you want to draw that rectangle. Okay, that style and all. So you can create a separate paint object you can create, or you can use the same paint object you can use. Just change the color and style if you want. If you want. Okay. Paint dot set color that I'm specifying is can. Okay. Paint dot set style. And specifying, I'm not taking the fill effect. I'm not taking. I'm taking only stroke effect. I'm taking. So paint dot stroke. Okay. Now let's run the application and see the output runs. So here the last parameter is nothing but the paint object. So now if you see the output here, let's run the application. Let's run the application. So now we drawn a circle, we draw. Sorry, we drawn a rectangle, we draw. Okay. So now we specified the style as fill effect we specified. Fill we specified. Sorry, not fill, stroke we specified. Stroke means only you will get the border line you will get. That's it. If you specify fill, if you specify, then you'll get the color we will get here. Now we got only the stroke effect we got. That's it. Okay. This is drawing the shapes. Like this, there are different shapes are there. Just try to explore ones. And even you can draw a text also. You can draw a text on the screen like canvas dot draw text is a method. Canvas dot draw text is a method. So what is the text you want to display? You can specify here. I'm specifying the text as welcome, or just I want to display message, for example, some text. Okay, so just you have to specify where you want to display this one. What is the X position and what is the Y position? You have to specify these two positions. You have to specify X position and Y position. Okay. X position I specified because okay, X position is 150 only I specified, but Y position up to 400 we have a rectangle we are having up to 400. So I specified 500. I specified the Y position. The last parameter is paint object. So what is a color? You can specify the color. You can specify set color, color dot. For example, I want to display with yellow color. I want to display. Okay. So we specify the color we specified. Next, you can specify the style also. We can specify set style, style dot fill. And if you want, you can specify the size. You can specify like paint object dot set text size is some method is text set text size. You can specify the size. You can specify. I specified as 50. I specify. Okay. The last parameter is nothing but the paint object. Last parameter is nothing but what? The paint object is specified. Let's run the code. So now we drawn our own text we drawn on the screen. So good morning, Hyderabad. Okay, we specified a color, we specified where you want to draw the text and all. Okay, so next thing is drawing the images. So if you want to draw any image, if you want to draw on the screen, first place that image in the drawable folder, right? Okay. So what are the image you want to draw? Let's place the image in the drawable folder. My requirement is I want to draw this. This is cycle images there. So bicycle image. So this is an image in my system. Bicycle image, cycle image. Okay. So now my requirement is this image I want to draw in my application. I want to draw this image. Let's copy the image bicycle.png. Let's copy the image and place the image into which folder? Into the drawable folder. Let's place the image in drawable folder. Let's copy the image, place the image here. Bicycle.png is a file. Okay. So now here, if you want to draw the image, if you want to draw, there is a method called canvas.drawBitmap is a method. Canvas.drawBitmap is a method. And see here, first parameter is nothing but the bitmap object. First parameter is nothing but what? The bitmap object. Meaning whatever the image you wants to draw, let's specify that image in the first parameter as a bitmap object. Next, where you want to draw that one? What is the left position and what is the top position? And the paint properties. So here, canvas.drawBitmap. The first parameter is a bitmap object. First parameter is what? The bitmap object had to specify in the first parameter. Okay. So let's create the object for bitmap. Basically, we place the file we placed in the drawable folder we placed, but we required the object for bitmap class object we required. So bitmap is equals to, there is a class called bitmap factory dot decode resource is a method. Bitmap factory dot decode resource is a method. Okay. So in this decode resource method, first parameter we had to specify the resource object we had to specify, just call get resources. So that you'll get the resource object you'll get. Second parameter is nothing but the file name art.drawable.bicycle. So what are the image you want to draw? Let's specify the image object. Okay. So now what we are doing is what we place a file in the drawable folder. We place the file. Now we got the bitmap object. We got the object for what? Bitmap. So now canvas.drawBitmap is a method. Specify the bitmap object, the first parameter. Which image you want to draw? Let's specify the bitmap object in the first parameter. Okay. So first parameter specify the bitmap object. Second parameter is nothing but the exposition. Where you want to draw that, specify the exposition. Okay. So the exposition is nothing but specifying 550 is the exposition I specified. Sorry, 550 is the Y position. Okay. Exposition I'm taking at 50. I'm taking exposition I'm taking at 50 location. Y position is specified 550, and the last parameter is nothing but the paint object. So basically, paint is not applicable for images. Paint is not applicable for images. You cannot change the image colors. So that's why I'm specifying this paint property. I'm specifying as null. I specified the paint property. Okay. Now let's run the code and see the output. Whether it is drawing that image or not. And if you see here, yeah. So now the image is drawn on the screen. This cycle image is there, right? So we drawn this image. We drawn on the screen. We drawn the image. Okay. Now my requirement is I want to move this image. This cycle image is there, right? I want to move this image. I want to move. So how can we write the logic to move this image? So in the X position, I want to move this image. I want to move in the X position. So how can we move the image? So what we had to do is we had to write the logic. We had to write, for every 1 second or for every half second. So we had to update this position of this X position. We had to update the X position of this user. I mean this image for every. So what are the time intervals? For example, quickly if you want to move, you can specify for every 100 milliseconds or 200 milliseconds. Or slowly if you want to move, you can specify half second. You can specify like that. Okay. So here we have to write the logic to move this image, this cycle image. I want to get that effect I want to get. So here, in Java, we are having, not in Java, in case of our Android, there is a concept called handler. There is a concept called what? Handler is a concept. So frequently, if you want to perform any specific operation, okay, with some specific time interval, then we use a concept called what? Handler concept we use. I'll repeat once again. So frequently, if you want to perform any operations for a specific time interval, then we use a concept called what? Handler concept we use. Okay. Now let's see here. How can we use this handler concept now? Okay. Simple. Right now we call this my draw method. How many times we call this my draw method? Only one time we call this my draw method, right? Only one time we called this my draw method. We called only one time. Now what we had to do is we had to draw this my draw method continuously. We had to draw this. We had to call this my draw method. We had to call continuously. But I guess it's okay. So continuously we had to call this my draw method. We had to call continuously, and we had to update the position of this bitmap. See, every time we specified the X position as 50, right? Every time we specified the X position as 50, we specified. Now it should not be a 50. Now for every 1 second, it has to update the position. It has to update one pixel. It has to update the position. Okay, that's why what I'm doing is this 50. Rather than configuring here directly, I'm changing the global variable. I'm changing here. I'm declaring a global variable that is int X position. Int X position is equals to what? Int X position is equals to 50. Okay. So now here let's write X position. Meaning every time I'm incrementing. I'm incrementing one, I'm incrementing. Okay. So first time if you call you'll get 50, second time if you get 51, 52, like that you'll get. But this logic we have to execute continuously, right? Now we are executing this on my draw method. We are calling only one time. We are calling that one. That is also when we are calling that whenever the screen is created. Whenever the screen is created, we are calling only one time. Only we are calling this logic. Now my requirement is I want to call this logic. I want to call repeatedly. I want to call for every half millisecond. I want to call repeatedly this one. So for this, let's create a concept called handler. Inside this on created method, first time anyway we'll call this surface. We'll call first time. I'm creating a handler. I'm creating what? A handler. Let's create the object for handler class. Or you can create a global variable. You can create for a handler class. You can create a global variable. What is the class name? Handler. Android.os.handler. Let's specify the handler name. My handler. Just I given a variable name I given for this class. Just I given a variable name I given. What is the class? So variable what for the class handler. Now in the constructor, let's create the handler object. So my handler is equals to let's specify the object. Let's create the object for handler class. Handler is equals to new handler. Handler is equals to what? New handler class. Okay. This handler, this handler class contains a method called post delayed is a method. This handler class contains a method called what? Post delayed is a method. So here, once after drawing these, after calling this MyDraw method, continuously we have to execute this logic, we have to execute continuously. So what we'll do is let's put this logic inside a handler. Okay. So for example, we create an object for handler we created, right? This my handler dot, there is a method called post delayed is a method. What is the method name? Post delayed. See here, there are two parameters are there for this post delayed method. What are the two parameters? First parameter is a runnable object. Second parameter is the delay milliseconds. What is the first parameter? First parameter is a runnable object. Second parameter is the delay in milliseconds. These are the two parameters we had to pass. Runnable object and delay in milliseconds. Meaning, after how many seconds you want to call this one? Let's specify. For example, 500 I specified. Meaning 500 milliseconds. 500 milliseconds. Wait for 500 milliseconds. Meaning after executing this logic, wait for 500 milliseconds. Then after that, see what is the first parameter for this post delete method? The first parameter we had to specify the object of runnable class object we had to specify. Handler dot post delete. First parameter we had to specify the object of runnable class object we had to specify. And second parameter is milliseconds. So after this 500 milliseconds, it's going to call the runnable, it's going to call. In this runnable class, it's going to call the run method, it's going to call. So you wait for 500 milliseconds, then after that, it's going to call what? The run method is going to call. In this run method, again call this logic. Whatever the logic we created here, after this 500 milliseconds, again call this handler object. Again call the handler object. Okay. But even if you write the logic like this also, it's going to be called wait for, meaning first time it's going to call the screen, it's going to call. Then after that, again it's going to call wait for five, sorry, half millisecond, wait for half millisecond. Then after that half millisecond, it's going to call this post date method is going to call, this run method is going to call. Okay. And this is also not a cycle. It is also going to be executed only one time. It's going to be executed. It is here also. It's going to execute only one time. It is going to execute here also. Okay. Repeatedly, if you want to execute this one, repeatedly if you want to execute this, again call my handler dot post delayed of. My handler dot post delayed of. First parameter is a runnable object. Anyway, we are already inside the runnable class. We are already inside what? The runnable class. So first parameter specify this. We are already inside the runnable class. So first parameter specify this here, and the second parameter is nothing but specify this in the first parameter, meaning the runnable object. Second parameter is nothing but milliseconds. So milliseconds I specified as 500 for every 500 milliseconds. So here the logic is nothing but first time whenever you create an object from your activity class here, whenever you create an object of your SurfaceView component, it's going to call the constructor is going to call here. In this constructor, so we configured a listener we configured for this surface holder. Whenever the screen is created, it's going to call this on surface created method is going to call. So for drawing any object on the screen, we have to create an object for canvas. The drawing logic written in the MyDraw method written that logic. Okay. So once your operation is completed, we have to unlock that canvas object you have to unlock. Okay. But it's a one-time execution. But frequently, if you want to execute this one, we create a concept called handler concept we created. So handler is equals to new handler. Handler dot post delayed is a method. So in the real-time development in n number of places, we'll get a requirement of using this handler. You want to execute some process after 5 seconds or 10 seconds. So how will you execute that process after 5 seconds or 10 seconds? Simply we'll create a handler will create. Second parameter is the time interval. After how many seconds you want to execute the logic. Write the logic in the first parameter. Create the object for runnable, which contains a method called run method. Write the logic in this run method. Okay. So now it's a cycle, boss. Now there is no end for this process. Continuously it's going to execute this logic for every 500 milliseconds. It's going to execute the logic for every 500 milliseconds. It's going to call this runnable method is going to call continuously. Okay. Now let's run the application. Let's run the application and see. Sound icon. Sound is icon. Now if you see here, if you observe this image, if you observe, now the image is moving slowly. For every half millisecond, it's going to move one pixel. It's going to move. If you clearly see the image, it is moving the image for every half millisecond. It is moving. It is moving one pixel. One pixel. It is moving for every half millisecond. Okay. So if you want, you can increase the. You see here, it's moving very slowly. It's moving. We'll do one thing. We'll increase the time. We'll increase the space. Will increase. For example, every time it has to increase the 3 times. Meaning in the my draw method. So we specify x position is equals to x position plus 3 I specified. Okay. So meaning every time we are increasing the x position, we are increasing every time 3 pixels we are increasing. Every time we are increasing this x position, what? 3 pixels we are increasing this x position, we are increasing 3 pixels. Okay, let's run the application. Earlier we are increasing only one pixel we are increasing. Now we are increasing what? 3 pixels we are increasing every time. Now if you see the output here, now it's moving the image or not? Yes, it is moving the image. It is moving 3 pixels. It is moving every time. Okay. So if you want to move it fastly, just either decrease the time interval, in the handler. In place of 500 milliseconds, take only 100 milliseconds. So meaning in a 1 second, how many times it's going to call? 10 times it is going to call this handler. So now if you observe, now it's so fast it is moving. Okay. See how much logic we return. How much logic we return just for moving a small image. So we create a handler we created, and every time we are updating the expression, we are updating every time. Okay. So like this, there are some methods are there. By creating this handler concept and all, you can move the image, and you can, for example, my requirement is I don't want to only move the image. My requirement is I want to rotate the image. Rotation and moving. My requirement is what? I want to rotate as well as I want to move. See, is there any method for rotation? Is there any method for rotation? Let's see here. Bitmap object dot, there is a method called set rotation. There is no any method called rotation. Then how you'll apply the rotation property? How you'll apply? Okay. So let's see my requirement. Let me explain what exactly my requirement. If you see my game, if you see here, I'm developing one game. I'm developing. Let's see what is the requirement in that game. So before going to start the game, my requirement is I want to give my company description. I want to give. So whatever it may be an application, or it may be a game. Before going to start a game. I want to display some animation. I want to display about my company. So this is a game basically. Okay, and this is my company name. If you see here in this cubex, if you see the cube, if you see here, it is rotating, right? In which axis it is rotating? Is it in z axis? Sorry, is it in x axis? No, right? It's not moving in x axis. It's not moving. It is moving the image in a z axis. It is moving the image. It is moving in the z axis. It is moving. See, in case of built-in graphic components, how much logic had to write for this to move the image in a z axis? Okay, this is one thing. And there is an app, my current working company project app. There is an app called Health Cost. See, if you open this app, if you open, you will get some animations. You'll get see the image is rotating and zooming. Image is rotating and zooming. Then after that, you'll get. So this is my current This is my current working project. Okay, and if you see here, before going to start the page, there is some animation we got, right? Okay, so these two animations, whatever I shown the first one, that cubex logo and this rotation symbol, we can do in graphic programming also we can do mainly these graphic components in the application development, mainly for displaying the splash screens. Splash is termed as splash means nothing but before login, if you want to display any pages like welcome screens, if you want to show, we call as a splash screen. We call mainly for designing the splash screens, we use these graphic components we use. Okay, so we can display graphics, we can display by using graphic mean by using the three components whatever we discussed. We can display any type of complex graphics we can display, but the problem is nothing but we had to write a lot of logic. Had to write We had to write a huge amount of logic. Had to write just in case of our example, previous example, just for moving one small image, see how much of logic we written, right? That's why in the market there is a there are some lot of third party frameworks are there. In the market there are a lot of third party frameworks are there for displaying the graphics or for displaying the animations. Okay, graphics means basically what you'll do was you'll move the image, you'll jump the image, you'll rotate the image in x axis or z axis. Okay, so for displaying the graphics and animations, mainly internally these three are only the graphic components: SurfaceView, SurfaceHolder, and Canvas. But we had to write a lot of logic, had to write a huge amount of logic, had to write. But in the market there are some frameworks out there. Can you know what is in a framework? A framework means a set of well-defined classes and interfaces. A framework means what? A set of well-defined classes and interfaces which reduces the developer's work. Which reduces what? The developer's work. Meaning, boss, you need to take that risk. Someone is already implemented that functionality. Someone is already implemented the functionality. Just use these classes. And if you have a requirement of same, if you have a same requirement, moving, rotation, and all, you need to create once again. You need to create that one. Someone is already implemented that. You can just use that classes. Okay, so that is one of the framework which I identified, meaning for displaying the graphics for 2D graphics is nothing but there is a framework called Cocos 2D is a framework. There is a framework called what? Cocos 2D. Okay, this Cocos 2D is one of the framework for displaying the graphics and animations in Android. It's a it's an open source framework. Cocos 2D is an open source a framework for displaying the graphics, and it's a gaming framework also. If you are interested in the gaming development, okay, so you can develop the gaming applications. You can start by using this Cocos 2D. And even I shown one app, right? Even this game also I'm developing this Cocoa Studio. I'm developing this entire game I'm developing by using Cocoa Studio. I'm developing this entire game. Okay. But you require some some depth of knowledge, some in-depth knowledge you require for developing this gaming kind of applications and all. But if you want to display some animations, so if you want to see here this robot moving image and all, so all these actions I perform by using Cocoa Studio. I written this logic, the entire game logic I written by using Cocoa Studio framework. Okay, that's what I'm showing. If you want to display some complex graphics and all, so better go with what a third-party frameworks. So one of the best framework, but what I identified in Android for displaying animations and all is Cocoa Studio. Okay, it's an open source framework. It's open source framework. If you want, you can modify the code. You can modify according to your requirement. Okay. Before going to jump into the Cocoa Studio, okay, even by using these graphic components, also we can display some complex animations, complex graphics. Also we can display, but we had to write a lot of logic had to write. Still, if you want to get the more knowledge about these graphic components, there is a URL called www.eduforjava.com is a URL. www.eduforjava.com. Okay. So if you want to learn more about the this graphic part and the gaming part, if you want to understand, just go through this URL eduforjava.com. And to say frankly, I learned the game programming, the graphics programming by using this URL. Okay. Here there is a here you can find option called Android games. Android games. Okay. So clearly they explain on game code, they explain clearly how to build one game in Android.
Hola, soy Edu de Edu for Java y esta es la presentación de unas nuevas líneas de tutoriales
Okay.
que
So
espero que les
clearly
interesen.
follow these steps. Okay, and you can learn a game programming. You can learn if you are really interested in a game programming, or if you want to explore more about the graphics. Just follow this tutorial once. You'll understand a lot of topics. You'll understand once if you follow this URL. See clearly they explain the step by step. For example, what is meant by surface view? What is surface view component? Okay, so clearly they explain step by step. They explain. Okay, next after that the game loop and animation. Okay, so clearly they explain like how to move the image. That's what we read now. How to move the image. Okay, just follow the tutorial once, so you'll understand lot of topics. You'll understand, and with this game, and you can learn a game programming. Also, you can learn. They given some images. Also, they can just download these images and place. Okay, any game, the concept is same, boss. If you know one game concept, if you know, you can develop n number of games. You can develop. The concept is very simple, to say frankly. Okay, you can learn that game programming and graphics programming also in depth. You can understand by following this tutorial. Okay, just if you have time, just go through this URL once. Okay, now let's jump into the second one, that is Cocoa Studio, displaying the graphics by using what? Cocoa Studio. It's an open source framework for displaying the graphics and animations in Android. Okay. So first, what we need is we need some Cocoa Studio set of class and interfaces we require, because for displaying the graphics using Cocoa Studio, we required what? Cocoa Studio classes and interfaces we required. We require the Cocoa Studio classes and interfaces. So where we can get that Cocoa Studio framework? Okay. So first we require the Cocoa Studio library files we require, that class and interfaces we require. Just make a request in Google. Just Google it. Cocoa Studio Android. So clearly type Cocoa Studio Android, because Cocoa Studio is available in different packages. Like it's not only for Android. Cocoa Studio Android is available. Cocoa Studio iPhone. Cocoa Studio, uh, you know, the JavaScript. Cocoa Studio for desktop in different platforms. It's available. So here, let's take clearly specify Cocoa Studio Android. Cocos 2D Android sample project. Cocos 2D Android sample project. Okay. Just type this one. Cocos 2D X is different. Cocos 2D X is a C platform. It's not a Java. It's not a Java framework. It's a C framework, and it's a cross platform. Okay. So here, that's why clearly specify Cocos 2D Android sample project. We got the link. We got right. The first link we got. Okay. I'm sending this URL also. I'm sending. So just what you will do is let's go through this URL, and you can find that sample project. You can find here. Just scroll down. Just scroll down. You can find the source code. You can find here. If you scroll down, you can find one sample project. You can find here. See, you can download the full source code here. Let's download this. Let's download this file. Full source code. It's downloading the project. It's downloading the sample project. It is downloading now. Okay. Let's open this one in the finder. I mean folder. This Coco Studio folder. So now we downloaded the Coco Studio sample project. We downloaded the Coco Studio sample project. We downloaded. Now we had to import this Coco Studio sample project. We had to import into our project. We had to import this. We downloaded the sample project. We downloaded right. Now this project import into our Android Studio. Let's open in our Android Studio. I'm copying this path. I'm copying. So Coco Studio Android simple project. Okay. Let's open this project in your Android Studio. So file, there is an option called open. So in downloads folder, what is the project name? Coco Studio. Coco Studio simple game tutorial is a project. Just import this project. That's it. So download that sample project and open the project in Android Studio. Okay. And one small change while you are opening the project here, while you are opening the project, let's take this one. Import import project. It's a because it's developed in Eclipse. It's developed in Eclipse. It is developed. So here, let's take Eclipse project. Okay, and wait the project is available. Let's specify here. Coco Studio simple game tutorial 4. Okay, so project next. Okay, we got the project we got. So problem is nothing but here. Basically, it's a very old version of SDK it is using. So it's using what very old version of SDK it's using Android 21. So just go to that build.gradle. So in your project, you can find a project. You can find a build.gradle. In this build.gradle, let's change the Android version here. In your project, you can find an option called build.gradle. In this Coco Studio sample project, you can find an option called build.gradle. In this build.gradle, let's change the version of Android. In your app, in your app, see now in the app, there is a file called build.gradle. Open the build.gradle and here change the version from 21 to 23 because in my system SDK, now I don't have this 21 version. That's why it's showing the error. Let's change that version to 23. Whatever the version in your system, it's available. After changing this compile SDK version, we have to rebuild the. Just go to tools option. In tools, you can find option called Android. Tools, Android. In Android, you can find option called sync project with Gradle files. I'll repeat once again. Go to tools, tools, Android. In Android, you can find the option called sync project with Gradle files. Okay. Now the version of project is changed to 23. It is changed. Now let's run the application. Just we downloaded a sample project. We downloaded. We downloaded a Cocoa Studio sample project. We downloaded. Just run the application. Run the application in the Samsung device. Okay. So we downloaded on sample project. We downloaded. The project contains this game code. Meaning once if you touch, you'll get these objects. You'll get once if you touch. Okay. So the sample project, whatever the project we imported, that sample project contains this game code. The sample project contains this game code. Okay, the sample project contains what? This game code. Okay. Now what we had to do is now we had to modify this one according to our requirement. This is we got the Cocoa Studio libraries we got now. To work with Cocoa Studio, first of all we required the Cocoa Studio libraries, right? That set of class and interfaces we required. Now we got that set of class and interfaces we got. Now we got the Cocoa Studio, the entire Cocoa Studio classes and interfaces we got now. Okay. Now what we had to do is we had to create our own layers. Now we had to create our own the graphics we can display. Okay. So the tomorrow's class we'll discuss that one. So we'll start the Cocoa Studio programming part. Will start tomorrow. Okay. It's very interesting Cocoa Studio, and it's very simple also. You need to write a lot of logic. You need to write for displaying the animations and all. It's very simple. Okay. The tomorrow class we'll see that one Cocoa Studio part. So any queries? Okay. If you have any queries, please let me know. Otherwise, tomorrow we'll discuss. The Cocoa Studio programming part we'll discuss.